Okay, so this evening we have Dr. Ashutosh Potdar with us to share his thoughts on the topic of mind of a playwright, unfolding myth and meaning. I'll introduce the playwright and a very dear professor to his students, to you people, to all the participants. Dr. Ashutosh Potdar has one-act and full-length plays, poems, short fiction, and scholarly essays in Marathi and English to his credit. Two collections of his four plays are published by Watermark Publication. His plays are performed through festivals like Bharat Rang Mahotsav, NSD New Delhi, Prithvi Theatre, International Theatre Festival of Kerala, and different other venues in India. He is the recipient of a number of awards such as Maharashtra Foundation Award, Ashwaghosh Award, given by Bodhi Natya Parishad, Best Playwriting Award given by Natya Parishad, and Ram Ganesh Gadkari Award given by the government of Maharashtra. He has also translated plays and essays from English to Marathi. Dr. Potdar has been teaching English and Indian literature, drama and theatre studies, creative writing at graduate and postgraduate levels for the last 20 years. He has published his research work on drama and literature in English and Marathi in various journals and presented papers in national and international conferences. He travels extensively to deliver lectures on literature, theatre, and cultural practices. His collaborative research with Professor Shormish Shah of IIT Bombay on theatre making and archive has culminated in a co-edited book on performance making in the archive to be published in coming days by Routledge, India. He has been working on a book of a collection of his poems to be published soon. Also, he has been editing an anthology of English translations of a selection of the best Marathi short stories to be published by Aleph Books. Dr. Potdar is the founder and co-editor of Hakara, a peer-reviewed bilingual journal of creative expression, publishing online in Marathi and English. He is an associate professor at Flame University, Pune. Welcome, Dr. Potdar, to this session. Hopefully, it will be an interesting and intriguing one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Potdar. And I think I'll begin with the first question, which is, can you elaborate on the idea of natak? Is it very different from khel or early theatrical performances in India? So how much do you think it is different from the recent conception of stagecraft?
Yeah. Actually, before that, I'll just kind of, respond to this question through my own personal practice. So, I mean, there is a theoretical framework. We will also talk about that idea of natak, idea of khel, and idea of theater, which has kind of evolved in Maharashtra to this side of India in different ways since 19th century and before that. Actually, if you look at theater in Marathi, theater in Maharashtra, which goes long back in the time of Sarfoji Raje Bhosle of Tanjavur. So actually, time and again, we keep on saying that the theater in India, theater in Maharashtra has evolved in 19th century, has evolved in 18th century. But my point always has been, we cannot just identify one way of looking at theater within 18th or 19th century. We need to go back to the history, especially Maratha history, where theater has emerged. So the point is that if you look at kind of history of drama, history of theater in India, which is a primarily of khel. So in Marathi, khel is a kind of play, right? So you are playing. In Kannada, sometimes this khel is known as ata. Ata is a big kind of space where you play a game. So the whole idea of theater is not what you call today within proscenium space. So in 19th century, theater has evolved to be known as records show that till 1850s, people were not aware of theater as such or idea of natak itself. But before that, theater was being performed in the form of khel. So it would be kind of, now we can imagine it would be very open space, in a courtyard or in front of a temple or under a big tree or like in a kind of locality where people gather, they would come together, they would kind of share their own experience. That's the one thing. another thing that though we call it natak, it's not historically, it's not very different from what you call philosophical discourse, right? So in Marathi, there are a number of what we call today natak was very different. So today we are kind of in the time when we look at natak as different from philosophical discourse. We look at natak something that is kind of day-to-day life, but life activities. But in the time before 18th and 19th century, we will realize this key natak was totally part of what we call our routine life, our routine world, our mundane world. So that's how I find it very exciting to see how natak has emerged in 19th century. If you are looking at that kind of response, so only with the emergence of new middle class in 19th century, you will see how people have responded to what you call going out, buying a ticket, and going out to see a performance in a proscenium on a proscenium stage, in a closed theater space. So that's where, for the first time, Indian theater was responding to an urge of Indian people to buy a ticket and see something that was being exhibited on the stage, and that's how I think the idea of natak has emerged in 19th century. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your response, Dr. Potdar. I have also read so much
Yeah.
about the influence of bhajans in your life and in your creative process. Can you say something about it?
Yeah, so basically the thing is that I work while I work on my play. I work in multiple ways. There are kind of multiple dots in my whole entire process. On the one hand, I write in Marathi. Of course, I write in Marathi. My creative writing has been in Marathi, primarily in Marathi. But when I write, I'm also responding to my situation, my kind of my surrounding, and I call this surrounding as bhavtal, which is very amazing word in Marathi. Bhavtal is surrounding. It's not just it's not just context. It's not just social, political, cultural context. Bhavtal is something very dynamic space, which is what you call which is very creative space, which is very cultural space, which is very social and political space as well. So usually when I write plays or when I think about what you call my writing, my literature, I think in the broader context of Bhavtal. So Bhavtal is not what you call a space that is not something. It's not other space. It's kind of it's an extension of my own life. So when I say Bhavtal, it's not non-human space. It's human as well as non-human space. So I grew up in a space where actually I grew up listening bhajans throughout my childhood, and my family had kind of very specifically designated space for bhajan. And my grandfather was part of this whole bhajan tradition in Maharashtra, and he would sing bhajans. We had a kind of bhajan group for more than 90 years. So he ran that bhajan group with his friends, with kind of people from my gaon, my village. So one thing is that the bhajan constantly appears in my whole process because I grew up attending those bhajans. Now it's a very interesting thing about bhajan. So bhajan, when I heard bhajans, they were not like very what you call very separated from my life, very separated from what I did in my mundane life. So bhajan was part of my mundanity. So bhajan kari, bhajan singer, they would come to my home daytime. They will have some kind of daily activities. They will go to farm. They will work with my grandfather. And as the kind of night comes up, so by 8:30 and 9, after dinner is done, so everyone would start gathering at that bhajan space, and they would start singing bhajan, and it will go until 2, 3 next day the morning. So that way I kind of came across this whole dynamic of bhajan in my childhood days. What kind of fascinates me even today when I think of bhajan is the kind of the way bhajan karis would create space around them. So one bhajan kari would sing with veena with him. So usually this performer, I mean now we call him performer, but he was not like kind of performer as a it was not his profession, but part of his life. He would daytime also he would sing bhajans. So bhajan will always be there. He will keep humming bhajans, and toward the night he will start actually exploring those bhajan forms in different ways to different bhajans. So bhajans of Tukaram, bhajans of Jnaneshwar, Namdev, uh, Kano Patra. So all these bhajans will go on at our space. So that way, for one reason, I thought bhajan was not just a performance for me, but also it was kind of exploration of language of my roots, language of my own land, language of my own people. Uh, but also bhajan, the art of bhajan, performance of bhajan kind of helped me extend my own boundaries. So basically the whole idea, this I am, but I doesn't consist of only I, it is also extension into my bhautal. So the point I was thinking at the time, even today, I feel this bhajan is not just about me singing something. Bhajan is not something about I saying something or someone else saying something. But bhajan is also extending your boundaries and considering other people as a part of your own, life, as your own world, and that's how you build your bhautal. That's how you build your own space. And I thought bhajan gave me an opportunity to building my own space, opportunity uh, towards kind of creating the space which was very very creative. So that's why I kept coming. So bhajan, through bhajan, when I wrote plays, when I wrote play like Anandbhog Mall and other play called Pulakalsa Bomla Maruti, the whole idea of bhajan was there. And bhajan gives me sense of community. Bhajan gives me sense of my bhautal. And in that whole community, there is a caste dynamic, there is a kind of dynamic of relationship with men and women, dynamic of relationship with upper caste and lower caste, different religions, and of course my relationship with kind of animal world. And that I have explored in my play Kula Kalsa Bomala Maruti. And in that play, I wanted to extend the whole idea of this community space to respond to the concern like suppose the buffalo is walking the streets, so is buffalo part of your community or not? And that's the question I wanted to respond to. Yeah, so bhajan as a performer, that's one thing, but bhajan as a kind of sense of community that came into my play.
Right. Amazing explanation, Dr. Potdar. From bhajan, let's shift to mythology. What, according to you, is the value of the repository of mythology to you as a playwright? And also want to know, how do you advise, or what would you advise to the young playwrights? How should they use mythology as well while writing plays?
See, I don't know advising young people because I keep on looking at my own practice. So I'm just, your question is helping me also to kind of respond to my own practice. So see, the thing is that when myths come, they don't come as kind of some outside technique or tool, right? So myths, they evolve. You evolve with myths, and myth making process in the play also evolves with you. It's a very organic thing. So it's not that I'm sure those great people they created play through myths. Say Girish Karnad or even Chandrasekhar Kambar, playwrights from Kannada theatre. They created great plays not with the kind of just intention of, okay, I'm applying this myth to create my play. No, you don't do that basically, because you live with it. So for me, what has happened is so in a play like Kulakalsa Bomala Maruti, I wanted to explore the idea of, as I said, idea of what is Bhautal actually for me. With the whole idea of, on one hand, there is a globalization, extreme forms of globalization are being explored nowadays. But on the other hand, there is also tradition, there is also connection to your roots. So basically, you are always a kind of stretch between tradition and modernity. And it's not new. I mean, all great people in my time, also a previous time, they have explored this whole thing, kind of space between tradition and modernity. They have explored. I wanted to explore this space through the kind of idea of myth of monkey. That so in this play of mine, Pula Khalsa Bomla Maruti, there is a monkey and marker. Actually, this is very colloquial word. That monkey is a kind of sophisticated word. So in my play, what happens is there is some dakati that happens at a gaon, one village, and all these dakati people, they are kind of collecting their sona, chandi, paisa yeah, at the in front of a temple. So what happened is they are collecting money, whatever they have collected through Dakati, and they wanted to run away from this gaon, taking all this money, taking all this wealth. And this Hanuman, who is which is the temple of this. I mean, there is a temple Hanuman. So basically they are counting money and they are planning to run away. So then this Hanuman gets up and he starts shouting, and then they run away. This way Hanuman had saved their lives, right? So basically Hanuman has saved their lives, and that way for villagers, Hanuman has been what we call savior, and savior lives among monkeys. Savior lives among monkeys in that particular gaon, and this is the myth I wanted to explore with this Pula Khalsa Bomla Maruti. So basically, I wanted to explore what is my relationship with monkeys, what is my relationship with kind of animals that I lived with during my childhood. Uh, so so I then kind of came up with songs in the play, and there was kind of some scene work in the play, which was in response to the form that I had experienced uh, through my life in village. So basically, this was the whole idea of myth. But the thing is that myth is not something that you plainly what you call appropriate. You don't appropriate myth, right, all the time. You also question your myths. You also reorient yourself through the myth. You also revisit your myths. So I wanted to revisit myths through my play, and in my next play, I mean, one of the plays called Sindhu Sudhakar Ramanitar, I wanted to understand modern myth that was created by a play in Marathi that was Ekach Pyala. This play was written in 1917, and I was just reading through the material, through the play, and the play has fascinated, kind of excited generations in Maharashtra. And that's a very well-known play, which was written by Ram Ganesh Gadkari, and the play was acted in by one of the very very great and well-known actors in India, Balagandharva. So he acted. He played the role of Sindhu in this play, and I wanted to understand this myth. And this play has created a kind of myth, and I wanted to respond to this myth. So with this play, I wanted to respond to the colonial time. I wanted to understand my connection with the colonial period. So that was my attempt with this play. So point I'm making is that when you are building a myth, or you are looking at myth for your writing, for your creative process, you don't just blindly accept myth as it is. You just don't apply your form to a myth, or you don't just apply myth to your form, but you kind of develop through organic process your play. So basically, the whole idea of taking myth is kind of instigating your own in your own creative impulse, and coming up with new ideas. Yeah, and of course, you also want to develop a new form with the help of myth.
Right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Potdar. So what I also want to ask is, how are these folk traditions surviving? I mean, especially in urban times or in this COVID situation, how are these surviving? That's one part of my question. And the second part is, do you think there are enough people or enough theater goers or enough enthusiasts to keep this tradition alive?
I'm not very well studied in this area, like to see how folk theatre traditions are being survived. But what I can say is just yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not that right person to respond to that. But what I can say is this: the way I look at in cities, the way the way tamasha, the way kirtans, they are being performed in a city like Pune, city like Kolhapur, city like Bombay. You can see this key. They are surviving in a kind of different form, different kind of audience. So basically, folk theater traditions have been changing over the time. So the kind of bhajan that I saw, the kind of bhajan that my grandfather used to sing, and what kind of bhajan my cousins used to sing, they were different. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this: folk traditions are not like, I mean, rigid. They are not like just quote unquote pure. They keep on changing. They keep on changing their form. The contents are also being changed. So of course they have been changed. Now to look into folk theater traditions, or even kind of urban modern forms of theater in cities like Pune and Bombay in COVID-19 time. I mean, everyone has been suffering these days. Not like just folk theaters, but also folk theater artists, but also modern, not modern, that's very maybe incorrect word to say, like proscenium artists, proscenium performers, or like open air performers. The way they have been going through this whole crisis of pandemic, it's really terrible. Like everyone has been facing pandemic, and everyone has been surviving. But of course, some of us are kind of extending our help, extending our support to backstage artists, support to those artists who are surviving only on theater, only on film. So we are helping them. We have helped them in past, like in last 3-4 months. We collected some financial support for them. So they are being supported. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So with reference to your recent play, I think which also has been translated in the Hindi, it's called Sadasarvada Purvapaar, and also your other plays as well. So how important are the functions of memory or subjective truth and archive, which keeps recording in your plays?
Yeah. See, the whole, again, going back to my earlier point. So memory and archive, they are not what you call, they are not stagnated. Archive is not stagnated. Archive is not something that has been kind of archived, quote unquote. So archives are always kind of flowing. Archives are they are not stable that way. They're always kind of moving from one time to another. So for me, the memory, or what you call, for me, the archival memory has been about this bhajans, has been about this kind of what you call past, and the past is also embedded with different forms: tamasha, bhajan, kirtan, and so on, so forth. So point here is that you don't just leave with the archive. I mean, you don't just keep the archive, maintain the archive, but also you constantly looking at the archive for your own kind of creative journey, through your own creative journey. So I constantly relook at the archive. So for me, yes, memory and archive, they kind of come together, and especially they came together with Sadasarvada Purvapaar, the play that was directed by Sharmishta Saha. She works in 19th century colonial Bengali theater history.
Yes.
So she's a researcher, she's a scholar. She is based in Bombay, and on one hand, she researches into the colonial history of Bengali theater, but also she teaches and also she directs plays. So she directed this Sadasarvada Purvapaar, a play that I had written with students of Lalit Kala Kendra, Pune University. So basically, I had written the play, and also another thing I should mention here, this since last 2 years, me and Sharmishta, we have been working on the archive. So we have been working on the how the working the concept how archives can be a part of theater making process. So basically, both of us work in the field where we think that there is a very kind of close connection between archive and performance making, archive and creative process. So we wanted to engage with the archive, and as a part of it, we did a kind of colloquium titled Performance Making in the Archive, and kind of papers that came out of this colloquium with are being edited, and then these papers will be published in the form of co-edited uh, book to be published by Routledge. So the point that at that time we were working on this particular theme, and we realized this scheme, there is a possibility of coming up with a play, and I had written this play. So while writing this play, my response was to 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 understand how archive can be a part of my creative process. That's what I wanted to look into. So my whole idea was this: key, if I'm accessing the archival material, say for instance posters, advertisements of colonial plays. There were jalsa, there were plays by say Ram Ganesh Gadkari, photographs of Balagandharva, photographs of some of the plays, and also I wanted to look into material in a sense which is not very academic all the time, but material like stories told by these people. So I have a friend, and her father, Sri Ram Ranade, who is also a musician, who also was part of Theatre Academy, and he has very interesting archival material of Ram Ganesh Gadkari's play, and he has also actually documented different plays that he came across. So I wanted to look into this kind of material. So I was very excited by the way Mr. Ranade would talk about say historical facts of Marathi Rangbhumi, and I wanted to look into this kind of excitement through the play that I started writing. And then we also got some material from Bengali theatre history. We started developing a space around archival material. We also did exercises with Lalit Kala Kendra students on how can we say, for instance, how can a poster of a play can be a part of your rehearsal process. So what we did is we opened a poster for discussion, but the discussion was not only academic discussion. Of course, we were looking into the discourse of archive and performance. Of course, we were interested in that as researchers, but also we were interested in how actors can prepare themselves with the help of archival material like a poster. So as a part of this, I started writing this play. So interestingly, what happened is whenever I write a play, I'm also excited by the form that is there in a memory, form that is there in archival material. So basically, the whole play is about a character. They are researching archival material. They are also actors, and they go to search for the archival material, and the archival material of the play that is being hidden, intentionally hidden by some people, or it's hidden. You don't know. The play has disappeared. So basically, their journey begins with the play that is hidden, that is not there, that has disappeared somewhere in the history. And the whole thing, business of what do you do with the play which has disappeared out of blue. And I think that took me to this play. Another very interesting thing has happened while writing this play. I travel a lot, and while traveling, I visit second-hand bookshops wherever I go, whichever city I visit. So let it be Patna, let it be Delhi, let it be Kolhapur, let it be Pune. So I have also very interesting contacts with second-hand bookshop keepers. So they call me, even today they call me, and हाँ सर हमारे पास ये किताब है, आपको चाहिए, मैं रखूँ आपके लिए, तो हाँ रखो भैया. So and the material is an amazing material. It's old, yellow pages books, and I get really excited by this thing. And in some of the books page there are six signatures of people. Like for example, someone from 1920 must have signed there, so I get the signature. someone signed saying that, oh, I wanted this play, wanted to buy this play for you, and this is for you. Take happy birthday. In some of the books, I also get some receipts of the book. So I mean, when the book was being bought. Somewhere you also see some kirana mal ka, grocery list in a book. So I really find it very fascinating. And then I think that why not to bring this thing in a play. And yeah, and then I wrote this play, Sadasarvada Purvapaar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Potdar. So I also
So one more thing. So one more thing is the memory. What you can't see memory, you can't see past, but you can access memory through the material. So what do you have is the material, right? I mean, I can't say this. See, this is a memory. You can't say this, but you have only access it to the material. So point for me throughout this play, and even for Sharmista, because she also directed later this play, this material, how do you bring this material, and what is material for us? So on the one hand, material, actually as a theater artist, you get to see the material because you are working within a space, right? You want the material, but also material is not just physical property. Material is also it's an idea, right? So the idea is you are accessing certain material in a certain form, meaning you are also accessing certain idea in your creative process. And I wanted to work on that idea.
Yeah, this coming from this question, this is something else, not a planned question. But since you mentioned the material of an idea, how materials sustain memory. So for you, are human beings should human beings be seen as materials as well? Because human beings also carry forward memory because maybe through anecdotes or are the materials for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I see material is one hand. ये तुम्हारे लिए material है. Actually, तू material देखकर नाटक करता है. So it's like that's the one way, So, but the point is that see, the thing about the play is that you are looking to the material, because play is also, writing a play is also a performative. It's like you are engaging in a space, right? Engaging with a space, in a space. So basically, I write fiction as well. I write poems as well. So the point for me while writing a play is you need to see something that's visible, because you are showing this to somebody. So there could be fascinating idea in front of me while writing, but that I have to realize it in a certain form on the stage, right? So मेरा आधा दिमाग उस तरफ भी काम करता है. You are not writing a poem. आप कविता नहीं लिख रहे हो, आप फिक्शन नहीं, आप कथा नहीं लिख रहे हो, आप कादम्बरी नहीं लिख रहे हो. और ये भी है while working on archive, while working on this particular play, Sadasarvada Purvapaar, ये भी बात है कि आप एकेडमिक कैसे नहीं लिख रहे हो. किसी को ये नहीं भाषण देना है आपको स्टेज पर जाकर, देखो ये आर्काइव ये होता है, मेमोरी ऐसी होती है, और ये कॉलोनियल आर्काइव हमारा ऐसा है, उसका पॉलिटिक्स ऐसा होता है. So इस पॉलिटिक्स में इस तरह से हुआ. You're not doing that, basically. You are telling that through a performance. So basically, I'm a writer, and we all writers. You have been doing theater for some time, so you also know that writer लोगों के दिमाग पर सर पर वो अपने डायरेक्टर बैठती है और हाँ ये आपने लिखा है, पर आपको ये नहीं ध्यान में आ रहा है कि ये स्टेज पर कैसे हो जाएगा. So Sharmista will kind of remind me all the time. ये ठीक है तू बोल रहा है, पर ये स्टेज पर कैसे करोगे, मुझे ये चैलेंज है. So because within that 2 hours of performance, she has to also engage with actors, audience. Light वाला होता है, stage में craft में होता है. So पूरा it's a kind of पूरा dynamic है. So basically, yes. So what you do as a writer, basically you start with the material, but see, the thing that it's also criticize that material, in the material as it is on the stage, in a play. Yeah, you have to kind of dramatize the material, and that's where अपना job शुरू होता है यहाँ पे. So maybe human is the material if you are looking at, but the point is not that you are showing human relationships, human complexities as they are. Basically, you are also dramatizing them. So that's where also I would like to make another point. For me, when I write, I don't look at it as kind of just an instrument to kind of solve riddle that are in my mind. So basically, what happened is, there are riddles within the archival spaces, right? So riddles, I say, कि तृतीय रत्न नाटक जो which was written by Mahatma Phule uh, in in uh, uh, in second half of 19th century, in somewhere in 1843. So the point, but the play got published much later, more than 70, 80 years later. But no one knows where this play has gone. Uh, so basically, there are some other plays. For instance, there was Satyashodak Jalsa that were performed by Mahatma Phule. Uh, it had different intent, but they were performative forms that existed in colonial India. But hardly we have taken any any stand on that. We haven't. Our histories don't kind of don't recognize the value of Satyashodak Jalsas. Um, so several historical discourses that are available in Marathi or any other language, they don't look into these Satyashodak Jalsas. So you can see this how theater history writing business has been very kind of tricky business. It has been biased business. But the point is that so as an academician, I do want to talk about it in my theater history class. But as a playwright, I want to convert it into dramatic form.
Right.
I know this is the history. Yeah, I know this is historical, and so I have a material from Satyashodak Jalsa. So I have seen from Satyashodak Jalsa. I have seen from contemporary, what you call mainstream professional Marathi theater. The audience will get to know, we look into theaters, right? And that's where you kind of create a space where constant questioning of theater history could be undertaken. You keep on questioning your theater history writing. And so we can do that. So that is also an attempt that I have made in my play. This is how theater histories should be relooked at, should be revisited. We have find out again. We have to search for the material, and even with available material, we have to relook at this. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Potdar. So I also wanted to ask you about something you referred to in one of your interviews about two kinds of clocks. So one outside and one inside. So do you think this isolation has merged these two times? So how are you as an artist negotiating with this new time, the outside and inside time? They have merged.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get your question. Could you please explain this?
Right. Yeah, I think the bandwidth problem is happening somewhere because your picture has shortened as well. So can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, so in one of the interviews, you mentioned about two kinds of clocks. So one outside and one inside. So do you think this isolation has merged these two times? So how are you as an artist negotiating with this new time?
Maybe what, actually I have spoken about it just a moment. So you constantly looking at the form for your writing. When you write a poem, or when you write a play, when you write a fiction. So there is some kind of inner clock that's always been kind of going on. Inner clock is just you try and understand what is happening within you. There, as a person, you are always finding yourself very complex, and you are like, sometimes but also there are a number of things that are happening outside world. So there is always a connection between what happens outside and what happens inside. So basically, again, to give you an example of, so inner, like, you try and understand there is certain form, there is certain kind of urge of form within you, but the urge of form is being fulfilled by the material that you are accessing, by the material you are kind of researching onto. So basically, when I visited a number of libraries in Maharashtra, archival space in the Maharashtra, When I speak to someone like Sri Ram Ranade, I was mentioning some time back. So basically, what you do, you are kind of looking at the material, but also there is a kind of inner need of yours. The inner need is kind of to respond to creative urge of your own, and so with that urge, you kind of bring that inner clock and outside world. So basically, what you try to do with this key in a form of play or in a form of poem, you try to merge those multiple spaces, and you come up with your own what you call creative writing. Yeah.
So also you see yourself as a writer who is constantly in touch with his, political and social environment, who is more concerned about the process. So how are you grappling with this, segregation from the rest of the world right now? I mean, how is the playwright in you functioning now that you cannot actually go outside and be a tangible part of that process, of that environment?
See, we are not segregated. I mean, we are not separate from what is happening. So it's a very organic thing. So basically, as you are a writer, that doesn't mean that you are like you are isolating yourself from the world. So you know what is happening out. So with this whole thing, lockdown began. So there were kind of बहुत सारे जो मजदूर लोग हैं, तो so they were going back, so they were not able to get, so they were walking and all those stories, I mean. So I was also working with some of the Mazdoor organizations in Maharashtra, in Pune, to kind of create a data of who wants to go where, So I was involved in that whole thing where my job was to kind of talk to Mazdoor, their families, and kind of collect data कि आप कहाँ जाना चाहते हो, अगर आप बंगाल जाना चाहते हो, वेस्ट बंगाल जाना चाहते हो, वेस्ट बंगाल में कहाँ जाना चाहते हो, आपको जगह मिली क्या नहीं, आपको गाड़ी मिलती है नहीं, अभी आपको राशन पानी आया कि नहीं. So some of us were kind of part of this thing. So the thing is that you all the time you don't have to write plays, right? In order to respond to the situation. So this is also, so the thing is that all the time you don't have to be actual activists going on the road, but in some way or the other you can extend your support. You can extend your what you call your practice to these people. So basically, whatever I could do, I kind of contributed. So that way, you are not separate all the time, anytime, basically, for that matter. Whatever happens outside gets responded by you, inside you, in your creative process. That doesn't mean that at that time, चलो अभी ये मजदूर का चल रहा है, तो मुझे एक नाटक लिख हम खत्म कर देते. So it's not. ये इस पर एक कविता लिखते हो. It's not. It's a kind of very organic process. You don't have to react. So basically, creative writing is not a reaction to something. There could be what you call creative writing. Could be creative process. Could be a reaction at a point. I mean, at a given point, you can say this provides me an impulse. That's all. But to get this impulse realized in a form of some creative work like a poem and drama, it may take years. You don't know. So it may take years. So it depends on how you look at that particular event that is happening around you. So my point is that you cannot isolate yourself from the world outside. So your clocks, your own clock, and your own body clock, your own mind clock is kind of in organically connection with the world outside.
Right, but you do agree that when you're writing a play, you have to imagine some sort of performance, the performative aspect of play. So now that in the COVID times that the theaters are closing down and we don't know about the future of play, Globe Theatre is about to close down, they're saying. Do you think, playwrights have to imagine a space or a play which is not dependent on performance? Is it possible? I mean, what is in the entire crisis? How do you respond to that as a playwright?
Yeah, so see, as a playwright, if you ask me, it's not like every day I don't participate in rehearsals. So this process could be different for a director, for theater director, for a stage design. So for me, I write something and then I share it with director. So basically it's not that कि I work with director that way कि हाँ ये मेरा scene हो गया अभी चलो अभी चलो so it's not like that. So you kind of you physically. So this time this COVID-19 one is this kids kind of it has disturbed me a lot. So it has kind of disturbed, it annoys you. You see you are frustrated inside. You see the frustrations outside. I mean, it's very difficult to kind of focus your energy into creative work. That's one thing. But also another on the other side of this also has allowed us to kind of look into stay calm and look into kind of your own process in a reflective manner. So when you are not doing anything, there is a space for you kind of to that allows you to kind of relook at your own process. So that way we can see it's an opportunity where अब तेरे को कुछ अभी करना नहीं है ना, अभी तेरा नाटक भी नहीं हो रहा है, अभी तू काम पर नहीं जा सकता है, अभी तू घर में बैठा हुआ है, तो सोच ले अपने काम के बारे में, सोच ले अपने क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस के बारे में. So that way you can do that. I think that is also one way of looking at. और तीसरी बात ऐसे है कि मुझे ऐसा कभी नहीं लगता है कि बार बार मुझे लिखना ही चाहिए. I don't feel that kind of thing. So बार बार किसी नाटक अभी लिख रहा है ना, नाटक लिखो, you are नाटककार. No, I'm not bothered by that kind of thing because I'm not pressured by अभी मुझे लिखना है, अभी मुझे कविता लिखनी है, अभी it's not a machine, right? So अभी मान लो कि 6 महीने मैंने कुछ लिखा नहीं है, कोई ये नहीं हो रहा है, भूकंप नहीं हो रहा है, भूकंप नहीं हो रहा है. So basically stay calm. बहुत सारी चीजें हमें करने के लिए जिंदगी में आप कुछ का टेलीविजन भी देखते रहते हो, पेपर में बहुत आता है, ये घर का काम होता है, ये कुकिंग होता है, कुछ बहुत सारी चीजें होती है कि यू कैन ट्राई. आई मीन सी द होल थिंग. दिस इज वेरी फनी आइडिया. सो यू आर क्रिएटिव मीनिंग आपको नाटक लिखना है, यू आर क्रिएटिव माने आपको कविताएं लिखनी है, यू आर क्रिएटिव माने फिक्शन लिखना है. नॉट नेसेसरी ऑल द टाइम. थोड़ा आराम से बैठने में क्रिएटिविटी होती है एक्चुअली. सो या.
Yeah, thank you so much. So also, you've always been a very staunch advocate of equality and a just society, of course. So we are facing this new resurgence of casteism, racism, jingoism, partisan politics, and criminalizing of dissent. So what do you feel about the role of the artist now? How should they respond?
Yeah. See, it's very tricky, and it's like artist community has always been divided. By this whole question. So this question is also tricky. So you can also use this question कि ये देखो आशुतोष ऐसे बोलता है कि उसको ये भूमिका ही नहीं लेता है. So basically the community is divided. तेरी भूमिका क्या है उसके बारे में, ये मजदूर के बारे में तू भूमिका क्यों लेता है? Of course it's wrong. It's like a very painful thing. It's a very frustrating thing. There's no doubt about it. So that the thing is that, but again at the same time I'm not just kind of commentator all the time. You're not an activist all the time. So sometimes you respond to that in a very kind of blunt manner, direct manner, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you at some point it's like you need to have certain form also in order to respond. So basically what I feel is this key, of course you are always been kind of bothered by incidents happening around you. ये अमेरिका में जो हुआ, ये भारत में जो हो रहा है, ये मंदिर और मस्जिद के बारे में होता है, मजदूरों का साथ होता है. So it's very painful all the time. And of course artist has to respond. But हर एक की अपनी respond करने की अपनी अपना एक तरीका है. Everyone has his or her own way of. So we should also respect that way. So अगर आप बोल रहे हो कि चलो आज मुझे नहीं नाटक लिखना है, मुझे अभी इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं करना है. So yeah, it's your way, but that doesn't mean that you are not sensitive enough. Of course you are sensitive enough. Your silence is also sensitive response to what is happening around you. Caste and all those things, caste or religious hierarchies, exploitation, oppressive forms. So basically that's also yours. To maintain that silence is also your kind of pregnant response. Your effective response. So yeah, so basically we all of us are responding to the situation, changing complexities changing forms of operation, forms of exploitation, changing forms of exploitation within globalization, within capitalist society. We have been responding to that. And I think it's sensible to say this key. Yeah, my response is different from your response, but we are sensitive to understand our responses.
Right. So also you keep referring to the space problems in urban cities. So do you think this non-realistic stylization is being used to cover the class and caste biases of the people residing in these gated communities?
Meaning, I didn't get your question.
These false stylization of city, the city is clean, the city is proper, the prim and proper, and how slums are being, in a marginal space. So do you think this false stylization is just a trope to cover up the, caste and caste problems that people carry within themselves?
I see. Yeah, I mean, you are right, but maybe the kind of this is not force. Like, I think we are covering our eyes to what is happening there within city, within urban spaces. So urban spaces are emerging as very hierarchical spaces. So when I wrote Anandbhog Mall, like, people started complaining about, yeah, Ashutosh, you are talking about globalization and you are talking about caste hierarchies. See, now we have malls, and see, now we have everything. Where is the caste? You are the one who is coming up with this caste. But I said, yeah, I mean, show me if there is no caste. Basically, we have caste hierarchy, but we have changed dynamic of caste hierarchy. We have different forms of caste hierarchy. It's not that we have given away caste hierarchy. Of course, there are very deep-rooted caste hierarchies have been there. Maybe in a sophisticated way of that kind of urban spaces, urban lives allow us to live in with. So we tend to believe inadequately believe that there are no caste hierarchies. But of course there are caste hierarchies. Yeah.
Right. So my next question is, let's talk about the language problem in your plays. I mean, the pure Marathi plays. I mean, can we imagine a purely Marathi play? So, for example, is it possible for Indian playwrights to not suffer from linguistic intrusions anymore? So, for example, your play F1 105 has various regional languages like Gujarati, Hindi, overlapping with native Marathi speeches. So is there something you think a purely Marathi play or a purely Hindi play in this globalized scenario?
Yeah, but what is pure?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean,
So, for example, what I'm trying to say is, if somebody is reading an English play, you won't find other language intruding there, not deliberately a French coming in. Is it possible for us to,
No, see, the thing of purity of language. So, say, for instance, I'm writing in Marathi. I write in Marathi, right? So, basically, but when I write in Marathi, or someone like all the great writers, say Ram Ganesh Gadkari, even recent times, Satish Alekar, Manishal Kunjwar, Vijay Tendulkar, whoever you take, Shapat Khan. So all these writers, they have written plays in Marathi, but that Marathi, I mean pure Marathi, because Marathi has range of dialects, Marathi has range of varieties. So basically, you are not writing that way pure Marathi because you are using multiple ways of expressing in Marathi.
Right.
So the whole idea of pure Marathi, that doesn't mean that I use English in my language. That doesn't mean that it's like not pure, right? So, but the point I'm making is that you keep on exploring different language possibilities within a play. For instance, if you look at Sakharam Banda, I'm sure most of you have read Sakharam Banda by Vijay Tendulkar. So the way Sakharam speaks language is very different from other two women characters in the play. So basically, what I'm trying to say is this key. In order to build your characterization, you also explore different possibilities of bringing varieties in the same language. What happened with F1105? F1105, the play is located in what you call cosmopolitan urban locality, like Bangalore, Bombay. I wanted to explore those kind of spaces at the time when I started writing F1105. So that's why it was a part. It was kind of need of my writing at that time. It was need that because since I was exploring urban space that is very cosmopolitan, multilingual, I wanted to explore one character speaking different language. Even today, when I write, I can see like me shifting between different languages simultaneously. So that's why the kind of. But there is nothing like pure Marathi, pure Hindi. And we haven't asked why this question is being asked to someone who writes in some Indian language, say Bengali, Hindi, Marathi. We haven't asked these questions for people from America. So we don't ask this question. So basically, it's strange sometimes.
Right. So my last question is in two parts. So the first part is, so how do you write urban people's plays when what is desired primarily is rather a movement away from indigenous cultural practices? I mean, do you think that people still want to interact and go to the theater and look at the folk elements, native folk elements? And my second part is, do people in villages, our governments, you think should governments organize, free proscenium theater for folk artists, and can they afford to showcase their talents or their folk traditions in front of a larger urban crowd?
Yeah, I think we'll keep a second question for some other conversation. So I'll respond to the this one. See, for me, it's not like this or that, this or this, so this or that. So it's not like either or. When I talk about indigenous, it's not indigenous versus urban. Right. So basically we have to reorient ourselves to look into what indigeneity in urban context, right? So the point is that so it's not like I don't like this colonial division native and something. So it's not like village and city. It's not like rural and urban. So it's not against each other. They are not like either or. So when I say I write about urban, that doesn't mean that I don't want to talk to a rural audience. That's not true. So basically, if you look at Marathi Marathi readership, it's very diverse. It's spread across different cities, villages. So अगर आप एक छोटे गांव की लाइब्रेरी की तरफ आप देखोगे तो अगर गांव की लाइब्रेरी की तरफ आप देखोगे तो गांव की लाइब्रेरी में जो किताबें पढ़ी जाती है मेरी किताबें पढ़ी जाती है बेसिकली इट्स नॉट दैट कि गांव में कोई अलग पढ़ता है ये सो गांव में जो पढ़ता है वो शहर में भी पढ़ता है सो पॉइंट इज दैट कि देयर लिटरेचर could be different language in the kind of fictional works that are being explored by someone who is writing in a village living in a village and writing could be different from my thing. But that doesn't mean that we are looking at in a very isolated manner. So let's not look at an isolated manner. Let's look at a kind of broad within a broad kind of canvas of Indian writing, broad canvas of Marathi writing. So there is a kind of sensibility that's across cities, across villages, across towns, across different languages, across different people who do different kinds of jobs, across different genders. So there is something that connects all of us through literary forms, through a language that we explore through poetry, through drama, and through our academic work also. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Potdar. I think we come to the end of my questions and open it for the audience. There are so many questions, we can't take everything, but some of them surely. I think someone, Srijita Banerjee asks, did Marathi theatre suffer absurdism like modern age? I don't know why she uses the word suffer, but I think she wants to say, did Marathi theatre have an absurd theatre phase?
absurd theater, absurd
Phase, I think
meaning
that's what she wants to
absurd.
ask. The modern stage, the modern absurd
Sorry,
theater
sorry.
movement. I think what she wants to ask is,
Why suffer?
yeah, if Marathi
Sorry,
theater
sorry.
had an absurd theater movement, I think that's what she wants to ask.
Yeah, I don't know in which ways she's looking at absurd, like absurd, absurdism in
Absurdism,
Beckettian
yes.
or yeah, that way. Yeah, I mean, of course, there are influences of absurdism, and of course, there is a kind of successful writing, especially while looking at looking at. Actually, there is very not very appropriate apt translation of absurdity in Marathi. There is asangatata, so that is the kind of most close translation of absurd. But the point is, yeah, there is Sati Shalekar who has written really wonderful plays, and one of the plays is a great play in history of Indian theatre. That's Begum Barve. So there is also another play by him, Shanbar Rewar. There is also Shafat Khan. And especially modern theatrical movement which has begun in a post-independent India, especially in Maharashtra. It's kind of begun with the influences of absurd theatre in Europe. Yeah.
All right. One more question. I don't have his or her name. So she asks, or he asks, how shahirs and their pavadas become the part of Marathi's historical discourses, and need more discussion on Satya Sadhuk Jalsas, she's saying.
Satyashodak Jalsa.
Yes.
But sorry, I didn't get the question. Will you please repeat?
She's saying how shahirs and their pavadas become part of Marathi historical discourses.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's yeah. So they are basically Shahir is again Shahiri tradition. That's again ballad tradition. It's Pavada from Shahir. So basically, they presented chronicles of Rajas and their lives. So basically, Shahir tradition is one of the very what you call long-living tradition. Still today, it's been survived by many Shahirs who perform through different villages and cities as well. So basically they're part of historical discourse, and that's the challenge for historiography. How do we look to Shahirs and Pavada, the kind of to build our historical consciousness, and there is amazing work done by Prachi Deshpande. She teaches at Triple CS in Kolkata. She teaches history, and she has written a wonderful book called Creative Past. And she has looked into how past can be kind of relooked into, how historical consciousness could be understood through by looking at Shahirs and Pavadas. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Potdar. We'll take just two more questions. One is by Insha Fatma. She says, I have read your play Sadasarvada Purvapaar and felt that the debate over truth is extremely tangible. So she asks, what is your opinion on...
Sorry.
She says, and felt that the debate over truth is extremely tangible in Sadasarvada Purvapaar. The debate. So she says, what is your opinion on truth and how important is history in the context of the same?
Yeah, so tangible meaning she thinks it's not good enough to talk about truth in tangible manner, or what? Like,
I think she wants to know what's your opinion of truth, in the sense how you present truth and problematize it, and history also.
Yeah, so basically what I tried to do in Sadasarvada Purvapaar, I wanted to look into plurality of truth. So there is not like single truth. There are multiple truths. That was the one way. Material, archival material, which is again tangible. The point was that I wanted to look into the material of a play which is hidden, which has been kind of hidden by someone, some community, some society. And so the whole idea of truth is that I wanted to look into truth something very stable concept basically. So is truth a step? So basically I want to realize that truth is not stable. It's always been changing. So truth for from another thing is that if you are accessing the truth, what are the resources to access the truth? And for me, it was important that what were the historical resources for me to access the truth. That was the second. Third important kind of concern for me while writing this play and even today is that now there are multiple truths. They're not a single truth. The second, that there are ways to access truth, and you are also looking into historical material. Now, so when you are saying how this whole process impacts your life, right? That's what I'm also interested. So because truth is for me, historical resources are not like something that's isolated from present. So dichotomy of past and present, because past is always flowing. So truth is also flowing. It comes down. So point is that the past is flowing, but the truth also we are saying that it's not stable. So my interest is in how does it impact my life? How does it impact contemporary understanding of one truth, contemporary understanding of historical resources, and contemporary understanding of Bhauta. So that's where I began my conversation with. So these are three areas that I wanted to dwell in while writing this play. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Potdar. And the last question is from Arati. She asks, do you see any similarities or differences in non-Indian plays and Indian Marathi plays? So she asks, since you watch and translate many, would like to know your thoughts on topics, representations, interpretations, forms, etc.
It's a very difficult question.
Yes.
And it's a broad question.
Long one, yes.
So because I haven't read like the non-Indian. I don't know what does it mean by non-Indian. Meaning African, European, American, or Sri Lankan, Pakistani. Like what? So what does it mean? I don't know. So yeah, I give it this question. I pass this question on to you, Asijit.
I don't know. I think what she wants to ask is what makes the play, authentically Indian. What is the Indian flavor? I think that's what she wants to ask. I mean, is it distinctly Indian? How do you get to know that?
Yeah.
It's complicated.
I don't know. I mean, what is distinctly Indian? Yeah.
It's a complicated question that way,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I can reframe the question and ask you, and in the context of the plays you have translated. So how much difference do you find between reading an Indian play and the plays you have translated? Let's say primarily the European ones. I think you have translated Jean Genet and Dario Fo.
Yeah. So I'll re-articulate this question. When I translate something, I don't see only differences, but I see how I associate myself with the play. Yeah. So when I translate something, I kind of rely on how do I associate myself with a particular text. Yeah. So this is basically where I start my journey with. So for instance, I have adapted George and The Maze in Marathi. So the point here is this: I saw first, there is certain connection. The way George and looks into hierarchical structure, the way George and topples this hierarchical structure, the way George and looks into power dynamic of two sisters, two maid servants in a French, in a French kind of bhautal. But the point I was also willing to look into, if I see the association with the play, I should be able to adapt it in my context. So that's where I decide. So basically, I don't translate everything. I don't adapt everything that I read. I mean, there are a number of fascinating plays by Shakespeare that you really want. Okay, this is great play, but you don't want all the time to translate it or adapt it. Why you translate one, you see associate, not the association connection with only characters, but the kind of worldview depicted in the play, brought into the play. So here in George in his case, even Strindberg's case, I see there is a worldview presented by those writers. I feel very connected to that world. I feel very connected. So I thought so whenever I think about translation or adaptation, I think about what is the worldview given by the particular writer, what is the power, what is the politics that he or she talks about, how the characterization and plot structure can help me understand the dynamic. And sometimes beyond that, you also want sometimes, something so exciting, and you at a point it happens that I can't write effectively. I know that I'm just saturated at some point. I'm not moving ahead. At the time, I get to know about X plot line, Y playwright, and I feel that, oh, this is very exciting. So I'm not able to write, but then why not to try out this kind of translation and adaptation? So for me, translation and adaptation, it's also part of exercise. You always have to do riyaz. So writer is not like all the time you don't write, but you don't just sit like that. So you do riyaz of translating, you do riyaz of. So sometimes I keep on translating something, but sometimes I have translated one scene or other, I have kept it as it is. So you translate, you adapt, you write a poem, you write a fiction, you write non-fiction. So basically this is like part of your overall रियाज. So मुझे बार बार ऐसा लगता है कि रियाज करने के लिए सिर्फ आपको गाने वाला होना नहीं चाहिए. So as a writer you also do riyaz, as a teacher you do riyaz, as a kind of as a theater artist you do riyaz. So basically riyaz is required. I think working on texts like George and his plays or Strindberg plays, it's a kind of wonderful opportunity for me to learn the kind of kind of writing that is being done by these great people. Sometimes I also for my class work I translate some Marathi plays into English. So some scenes from Marathi plays, say Satish Alekar, Mahesh Kuljwar, Vijay Tendulkar, I want to bring them to my students in the class, but that's not like only translation exercise. That's also exercise for myself, for me to keep updated with the kind of process of writing, where you are constantly challenged. So basically translation and such exercises are where you are constantly challenged by these people, great people, and they are really great writers. So you want to learn, you want to know about form, you want to know about plot, you want to know about how spaces are being developed by these people within a play. You want to know about silences that are maintained by this play. You want to know about how to write stage directions. You are constantly struggling point. You want to know about how the play can be opened up. Sometimes you have a lot of exciting ideas, but you don't know how to start with. So basically these people kind of guide you from time to time. So that's why I translate and adapt.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Potdar, for letting us look into the mind of the playwright. And we certainly can't wait for your plays to get translated into Hindi and English so that it reaches the widest amount of audience possible. So thank you so much for being a part of this session.
Yeah.
I hope to sit and talk again regarding these. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Asijit. Yeah. Thank you for bringing all these things together. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the participants for being here. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.